guys, it's Miss Garcia with Williams Middle School, and I'm here to talk to you today about the time period between the Greek theater, which is what we just talked about last week, to medieval theater. So there's a gap there that I'm going to try and fill today for you guys really quickly. So let's get started. Okay, so Romans and Greek theater were not too different. There's a few things that are different, but mostly it's very similar. So one of the things that is different from the Greeks to the Romans is that the Greeks never showed death and gore. The Romans, on the other hand, they had a lot to compete with. If you look down at the bottom, they had sea battles in the Colosseum, prisoners being fed to lions, chariot races. So there was a lot. The Romans really loved their entertainment, as opposed to the Greeks, who didn't have a lot of entertainment at that time. So theater was it for them. The Romans, they had so many forms of entertainment that in order to get people interested in their theater, they had to add some of these little things from the other things, the other options, in order to get people to want to come to them. So they started showing the death. They started showing the carnage and nudity and all kinds of things that the Greeks never did. So there's that big difference right there. Also, it became more of a spectacle. It was bigger. It was more. They were very lewd and graphic. But there's also a couple more changes that the Romans make to theater that we're going to learn about in a second. But on this slide in particular, we see, the gladiator fights, we see the chariot races. A lot of these things happened because of the Ludi Romani, which is similar to the Greeks' Festival of Dionysus. But this one in particular is the Roman Games Festival. So there were more games, pretty much, and it was to honor the Roman god Jupiter. But later years, they started to have theater added to that. So a lot of theater was seen there. So we're going to watch a quick video about Roman theater, because it's a pretty good summary of the things to know about the Roman theater contributions to the world of theater.
By 146 BC, Rome had conquered Greece, and in the years that followed, Rome would gradually absorb the entire Greek world. Because their empire was so vast and their wealth so great, many Roman citizens had a great deal of free time. They didn't have to spend many hours each day growing or gathering food or earning money to pay for their food. As a result, they were a society that loved many forms of entertainment. Greek-style theater was only one of many forms of entertainment that the Romans regularly produced. The Romans enjoyed performances of short comedies, similar to our sitcoms, athletic events, music and dance, trained animal shows, chariot races, and circus performers, such as jugglers and tumblers. Of the different full-length plays produced by the Romans, the comedies were much more popular than the tragedies. The titles of many Roman plays were recorded in government and festival records, but few of that large number survive. Of the known tragedies, all but one is by a playwright named Seneca, 5 BC to 65 AD. 9 of his plays survive. Of these, the best are The Trojan Women, Medea, Oedipus, and Agamemnon, all of which are based on Greek plays. The comedy scripts that have survived are either by Titus Plautus, 254 BC to 184 BC, or Publius Terentius Afer, who is known to us today as Terence, 190 BC to 159 BC. Most of the surviving Roman plays are based upon plots of Greek plays. This practice of borrowing the main ideas and characters from plays written in earlier periods is a practice which we see repeated by many famous playwrights throughout history. For example, the Roman Menaechmi was Shakespeare's source for the Comedy of Errors, one of his most popular scripts today. But the Roman writers did more than copy the Greeks' ideas. they made some important changes in dramatic form. They eliminated the chorus and added music to underscore the dialogue, rather like a movie soundtrack does today. Unlike the Greeks, who restricted the number of actors in each play, the Romans did not limit their writers to any set number of performers. The stage setting for Roman comedy was always the same: city street, regardless of the play being produced. The backdrop, a permanent stone structure known as the Scene Frons, always represented the front of several houses, in which there were doorways. These doorways represented the households of the main characters of the play and served as entrances and exits. For a tragedy, this same structure would represent a palace or temple. The Romans will always be remembered as great engineers and architects. Their strong sense of design is reflected in their theater buildings, which were unified, freestanding structures several stories in height. These buildings were unlike the Greek theater buildings, which were built on hillsides to utilize the natural slope of the ground for better audience visibility.
Okay, so we are back. Hopefully you found that interesting, some of the things that the Roman theater added for us currently. One of the big things was getting rid of the chorus. I found that interesting, and adding music. Anyway, so let's quickly wrap up today by talking about the fall of Rome and the rise of the church power. Rome fell for many reasons. One, the Roman Empire split into two, the East and the West, birth of the rivalry. There was constant invasion from barbarians in the West. Rome was a very wealthy empire, and a lot of people wanted part of it. The East grew more wealthy, actually, and Constantine moved his empire to the East. A barbarian by the name of Alaric finally succeeds in sacking Rome, because Rome had been being bombarded. He finally came in and just took it out. One of the biggest issues too was they had a very large army. Surprisingly, I mean, they were always getting attacked, but this put a lot of strain on the Roman Empire financially. So, money, war, civil war, all of it just lent itself to the eventual crumble of Rome. So the moral of the story, ladies and gentlemen, is Rome got too big for its britches, thought it was invincible, trusted the wrong allies, turned on itself, and spent money inappropriately, eventually bringing about its downfall. So let that be a lesson to you. If you're a big, successful company, don't do those things. Or country. Or empire. Whichever. So moving on, Christianity gains power. So the church rises because there is no longer an emperor. So the church rises in power, and they begin outlawing anything that goes against Christian teachings. Now, remember, as I said, that the theater had gotten a little more graphic and more spectacle, and a lot of what they were doing mixed with the fact that most of their plays were borrowed from the Greeks, and most of the Greek plays were about pagan gods that they believed in. The church said, yeah, no, we're not doing that anymore. So no more theater. Also, they believed that music, or certain types of music, or certain types of chords could summon Satan. So, of course, they outlawed music just in case. So this will be known as the Dark Ages, because really it was just work and church, and that's about it. So it will be we spent a lot of time in this era, with the church being in power and theater and music being gone. But that brings us to the end of our discussion for today, because tomorrow we're going to talk about how theater begins its rise. So tomorrow is Medieval Theater Overview. Stay tuned. See you later.